circle X for clap here.
I think they got it.
Yeah. Well, good morning. Oh, look at this. What a wonderful morning. What a way to wake up this morning. And I want to welcome everyone here, as well as those joining us online, to the Unity Spiritual Center, where our mission is transforming lives and inspiring people to make a positive difference in the world. My name is Mary Teresa, and I get to be your host this morning. I am also a licensed teacher here. I do a lot of meditation here, and I get to run the chaplain program. Please take a moment now to silence their cell phones, but first check in and let people know that you are here with us this morning listening and being here online. We want to begin our time together with sharing our opening affirmation. I will say it once and then ask you to repeat it with me. There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the Good. Together? There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the Good. This morning we will hear from Gary, who will be doing our message on the law of mind action. And Jane will be doing our meditation. And we are blessed musically by the Wrights. And
And kids, too.
And kids from Kids Camp, yes. All right. And for the community song.
All right. Okay, we're going to ask you to stand if you can. That'd be great. We're going to sing a song by Jen and Stan if you'll call. More than enough. We haven't done this in a while, so it just goes, hey, na, 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 more than enough. Can you try that now?
Hey, na, 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 more than enough.
That's your part. And then in the middle there is a clap. So, no, I'm just kidding. It's actually not. So this is the na-na part. We'll teach you to. Here we go. Well, hey, na, 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 more than enough. Hey, na, 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 more than enough. Hey, na, 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 more than enough. Hey, na, 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 more than enough. And I have more than enough of all that I need to do all that I do, all that I need as I go through this day. This is my creed. I have more than enough of all that I need, more than enough of all that I need. Let's sing. Hey, na, 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 more than enough. Hey, na, 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 more than enough. Hey, na, 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 more than enough. Hey, na, 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 more than enough. All right, let's try that verse again. See if you can sing it with us. Here we go. I have more than enough of all that I need to do all that I do, be all that I be, as I go through my day. This is my creed. I have more than enough of all that I need. I have more than enough of all that I need. Let's sing. Hey, na, 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 more than enough. Hey, na, 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 more than enough. Hey, na, 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 more than enough. Hey, na, 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 more than enough. Hey, na, 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 more than enough. Hey, na, 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 more than enough. Hey, na, 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 more than enough. Hey, na, 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 more than enough. All right, give yourself a round of applause. That's a new song. It's okay. Very good.
Good morning. My name is Linda, and I have the announcements. First up, Will Tuttle will be here next Sunday There's a flyer out on the wall in the entryway if you want more information. He's doing a message, meditation, and special music, and a workshop opening the intuitive gate at 12:30 on Sunday. Also speaking on Saturday night, August 24th, on planting peace, the World Peace Diet from 7 to 9. I believe that's by Love Offering. And I just want a reminder that Sisters in Spirit starts again for all the ladies next September, second Saturday in September, the 15th. And now I'm going to invite Jane up for an announcement.
Good morning. Can you feel it? Yes. Oh, say it like you mean it. Yes. How many of you are all about transformation? Well, have I got a deal for you? I mentioned this last week, but also I wanted to bring it up again, that this fall we will be having a fall commitment series here at Unity Spiritual Center. We will have talks from the pulpit on the various topics, but also then you can get into a small group to delve deeper into the work. And it's based on the book, What's in the Way is the Way by Mary O'Malley. And I want to invite you to consider being a part of this. I would love for the whole church, all of us, to be doing this work together. Are you in for that? Yes. Say it like you mean it. Yes. Think about why you come here. Why do you come here? Why do you come to New Thought Church rather than some other group? Is it because of the message of transforming your life? Is it because of the spiritual community that we create? Is it because of the fabulous music that we have every single week? Yes? All of the above? Who knows? But the point is that as a spiritual community, we have the opportunity to do this kind of deep transformative work in a way that we support one another on this journey. So there are a few ways you can get involved with this. You can have a small group that you would like to be a part of. You can have a spirit group that you can be a part of. Now, the spirit groups will do the whole 10-week cycle, as they have been, and they'll have the work from this to be the content pieces of the spirit group. Or you can just have a small group that meets for the 7 weeks and not be a spirit group. We're also trying something new that we're going to do an online group or online groups. And so for those of you who are tuning in online, if you are interested in knowing more about that, if you go to the Contact Us piece on our website and send me an email, I'll give you more information on that. But you can also be involved in many ways. You could be a facilitator, and Reverend David McClure and I are in the middle of creating the facilitator's guide for that. Now, when I say facilitate, it's not teaching, it's not presenting, it's simply facilitating the group process. And so we give you everything you ever could need to be facilitating this. We don't just kind of throw you to the wolves. So think about whether you would like to facilitate a group or host a group in your home, or both, or neither. You could just be a part of a group. So you'll see that there is, in your handout, there's a form that you can fill in. The book is available in our bookstore, but you can also get it on Amazon. We have it for the same cost that the Amazon book is, so if you want to get it through us, you can do that. And fill in your form and get them into me, and then I will be working with all those people that are interested in being in groups. And Al Koenigsfeld and I will be working on this, and you can see, you can contact Al as well. His email address is on the form. And I'm just excited about this because it's a commitment. The reason we call it a commitment series is because we are committing to our own spiritual evolution and transformation. Are you ready for that? Yes. This fall is the time, and when I look around at all the things that are happening in this world, it feels like now is the time for us to be stepping into a greater expression of who we are and being the change that we're looking for in our world. Are you feeling that same call? Yes. Well, this is one way that we can do it together as a community. So please consider joining us, fill in your forms, get them in, and let's change the world. Are you ready? Yes. All right, I'm going to call Mary up for another way you can change the world.
If you're on the cusp of becoming a facilitator, I've done it several times, and it's a wonderful way to be able to really, really connect with people, so I encourage you to do that. Another thing that you can couple with this is a meditation class that I'll be doing starting September 18th on Wednesdays all the way through the end of October, so it's going to be 7 weeks. We'll have some guest meditators in there as well. We will be doing it from 6 until 7, and I start right at 6 and we're done right at 7. So it's a meditation. Mostly what we'll be doing, we'll be learning, but mostly we'll be experiencing meditation. So I invite you for those things. Now, in the last, did you receive a little half sheet here? Okay, so on September 12th, the chaplains and I will be celebrating, all of us will be celebrating World Day of Prayer. We'll have a prayer vigil that will begin at 2 o'clock and continue till 5:30. When we will be reading the names. And that's what we want you to do, is take these lists, and what we would like you to do is first names only, and just use as many lists as you need, but just one per line because of the way that we read the names. And I tell you, it's a really sacred time to remember and to hold in the presence those people that we want to see. If you haven't received a list and would like one, please raise your hand. Our ushers are ready to give those out. And again, take as many as you need. I also want to remind you that with the Labyrinth Walk and the whole piece, there we go over here, we will also be doing a canned food drive, and we like to line the labyrinth with the canned food, so you can start bringing those in, and then of course that goes to our community. So thank you very much. And now to get ready for meditation. Nope. Oh, no.
Now we get ready for the board update with Joan Breckland.
A lot of announcements today, but each one is so important. So I just wanted to start off by thanking you for contributing your energy to what we're creating here together today. It just really feels great. I have a couple of things I'd like to share with you from the board. At my last board update, I mentioned that at our retreat, we made the commitment, that seems to be the word for today, to go through the 15 commitments of conscious leadership. And so we're doing one of those each month. And I have said before, we're all in this together, and so I wanted to share the second commitment with you that we're working on personally, each of us in our own lives this month, and ask you if you would join us, so that we as a whole congregation are working through and kind of integrating these commitments. These are things you've heard about before from Gary and Jane, but I just wanted to do it as a refresher, because it's each time you hear it and you make that personal commitment to do it yourself, it's kind of on a different level. So the second commitment is learning through curiosity. And again, remember that there's that line there, and we're either above the line or below the line, and that we all go below the line, and the first step to getting above the line is to recognize that we're below the line. So the above the line statement for learning through curiosity is, I commit to growing in self-awareness. I commit to regarding every interaction as an opportunity to learn. I commit to curiosity as a path to rapid learning. And the key words are open, curious, and committed to learning. So when we're above the line, that's what it looks like. Here's what it looks like when we're below the line. I commit to being right and to seeing this situation as something that is happening to me. I commit to being defensive, especially when I am certain I am right. And the words that go with that are closed, defensive, and committed to being right. So it's not that we're always above the line, but when we go below the line, we can shift that by breathing, by changing our posture, by beginning to kind of wonder about things instead of always thinking there's one right answer, and of course it's ours. So if you would join us, the board, with that, we would really appreciate it. The second thing I'd like to share with you today is that we've had a change in board membership. Is Glenn here today? Glenn, would you stand up? Glenn has had to resign from the board, and we just want to appreciate him for his time on the board. We'll miss you, and we hope you rejoin us at some point in the future. So we now have had an opening, and we have filled that opening with Tim Ryburn. So Tim, would you come up? You give Tim a hand. So Tim is retired Air Force. He's in the choir. He's a chaplain. He's on the Evolutionary Council, and for many years he was the lead in running our fall picnic. And I'm sure he's done a lot of other things too, but those are the ones that came to mind right away. So I just wanted to welcome you, Tim, and if you'd like to say something.
Basically, I just wanted to thank the board for this honor to be able to serve and grow with this community in this capacity. I consider it a great honor. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for being here.
So when they're all done talking, we're going to sing a cool song that Jennifer Russell brought to our community years ago, and it's called My Soul Sings Out. My soul sings out to you, my love. My soul sings out to you. My soul sings out to you, my love. My soul sings out to you. Oh, my God, you are my strength. You carry me on your wings. You are in me, you know my heart. My soul sings out to you. My soul sings out to you, my love. My soul sings out to you. My soul sings out to you, my love. My soul sings out to you. Your constant mercies flow through me, like a mighty river onward. You are the life, you set me free. I will love you forever and ever. My soul sings out to you, my love. My soul sings out to you. My soul sings out to you, my love. My soul sings out to
And as the notes of this beautiful song fade into the background, let's breathe them in. My soul sings out to you. And as we join together this morning in prayer and meditation, I would invite all of us to keep in our hearts all of those people and places in our world that are suffering. Places of violence and hurt and pain. Anyone that you know of who is in a painful place, this is our time to lift them up as our souls sing out. And so I invite you to take a breath and imagine breathing right into your heart. And as you do, allow the feeling of appreciation and compassion to rise up from within you and let it warm your heart. And let it move beyond your heart, filling your body and emanating from within you as we create an energetic field of compassion and kindness and love and gratitude. And as each one of us awakens to the truth of who we are, and as we express it from within us, we surround and enfold anyone who is in need of prayer support. So just imagine that in your heart, that we are creating a container of divine love that is ever expanding. And so we breathe into the heart space and we allow that feeling to expand even more as we see it blessing our community, our country, our planet. We know that love wins, that love always wins. It has already won. That as each one of us becomes this presence of love and compassion, that we help to bring forth a kinder world. So allow yourself to feel rooted in the oneness of God as an inlet and an outlet of the divine. Child of God, know your worth. Know who you are. Feel it. And as we continue to emanate the love within us, we enter the silence. My soul sings out. Each one of us is here to be that joyous presence, sharing the truth of who we are, being the change that we seek. And for this truth, for the opportunity to be the avenue through which evolution and change happens on this planet, we are grateful. And so it is. Amen.
My soul sings out to you. 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 What around you are my strength. You carry me on your wings. You are in me, you know my heart. My soul sings out to you. My soul sings out to you, my love. My soul sings out to you. My soul sings out to you, my love. My soul sings out to you. Let's sing that again. My soul sings out to you, my love. My soul sings out to you. My soul sings out to you, my love. My soul sings out to you.
Wow, that was really awesome. So I'm doing a series on the 5 principles, 5 unity basic principles, and here's an example of what they look like up there. And I'm on principle number 3 today, just to give you a quick review as to what we've been looking at, because so many of you have been gone all this time over summer. Gosh, it seems like we have everybody back. Welcome back for many of you. And those of you who've been here all along, holding the space for everybody to be away on your vacation and enjoying things. It's all right, because we're here to celebrate all the wondrous ways in which we connect. So the 5 unity basic principles give us a guideline, a sense of how we can organize our attention awareness as we really engage the spiritual path, the spiritual journey. Principle number 1 is that there's only one presence and one power active and at work in my life and in the universe, God the good, and we affirm that every Sunday. And so what that means is that there's just God going on in our life and in the world. Now, if for some reason you have an exception to that principle, that there's just God going on, that's why we have principle number 2. Because principle number 2 states that our essence is God, therefore our nature is inherently good. As a matter of fact, Jesus Christ demonstrated and manifested this essence that we describe as the truth of us. And so principle number 2 is that we are the ones unto our own life. We are the Christ of God, Christ unto our own world. We are here, sent by God, to be the avenue through which that which is spirit, presence, can connect up and make the world a better place. And if we don't know that, if we live in some sense of less than we are the one, that's how it's possible that our life looks and feels against us. When we live in the disconnect, that's how it's possible for us to have our life and the people in it the matter with us. But when we live in the awareness of the truth that everything about us has prepared us to be unto our life experience, the avenue through which God expresses, we are the one unto our own life. Until we know that, there's still a part of us that lives separate and apart from our own sense of well-being and worth, our own sense of wholeness, knowing the truth of us. And so that's principle number 2. And now today we're going to be talking about principle number 3, which is that we have the power to create our own personal reality. It says here, we are co-creators with God, creating through our thoughts that we hold in our mind. So thoughts held in mind produce after their own kind. So this is what we espouse in unity, and that is we have a direct relationship to how our life looks and feels unto us. And if we don't appreciate that we create our own personal reality, we live in the belief that life happens to us instead of we are participating, co-creating our life experience. And so part of our challenge, part of our struggle as spiritual beings living in this human experience is that to manage the part of ourself that has to operate in a world that lives in the belief of separation. Everything that happens in the world lives in the context that we're separate and apart. But if we have a spiritual principle, or the context of what we espouse is our interconnection, our oneness with all of life, if there's just God, then our experience of separation and our experience of the ills of the world are an effect of the disconnect, as opposed to something out there that actually has as its aim to be against us. And so part of our struggle is to unpack this dynamic of ourself in relationship to a world that is not capable of mirroring the truth of us. Because Mary and Joseph weren't our parents, we didn't get from the moment that we were brought into this world that we are unto our world the one, the Christ of God. Instead, we got something else. What message did you receive about your worth as you grew up? What did your religious upbringing tell you about your nature and what your value is, and therefore what you must become or subject yourself to if you are to fit in, or for you to be saved, or for you to be well? And so part of our struggle is to recognize that being in the world but not of it requires superpowers, requires tools, abilities that we're not given as we grow up in our world. And so part of the challenge is to learn, to educate ourselves with respect to who are we really in the context of our individual selves and in the greater context of our oneness with each other. So part of sorting this out begins to learn that while thoughts in mind produce after their own kind, this whole concept of mind and of thoughts have changed in recent history. Now we know so much more about how our brain works and understanding how our body participates in sustaining our beliefs and sustaining our concept of reality and our own personal relationship to our experience. Because when we feel uncomfortable, when we feel out of ease, then we look outside of ourselves for evidence of what's causing it, as opposed to looking inside of ourselves for how is it possible that I'm feeling uncomfortable if it's all God? How is it possible that I'm feeling not enough if it's all God? If we don't do that inquiry, that reconciliation of trying to reconcile how is it possible if it's all God that I'm having an experience that's less than that, if we're not in that inquiry, then we're looking outside of ourselves. And so part of the struggle now is to really gather the power, gather the tools, gather the information that enables us to work directly with the part of ourself that has the power to make our life either a heaven or a hell, depending upon what perspective we take. So here's a little movie.
Some level of your thoughts have an effect in your life. Yes? So you think 60 to 70,000 thoughts in one day. 90% of those thoughts are the same thoughts the day before. So what is the likelihood of something happening different in your life if 90% of those thoughts, conscious or unconscious, are the same thoughts the day before? Because the same thoughts always lead to the same choices. Same choices will lead to the same behaviors. The same behaviors will create the same experiences. And the same experiences produce the same emotions, and the same emotions drive your very same thoughts. And your biology, your neurocircuitry, neurochemistry, your hormone, even your genetic expression is equal to how you think, how you act, and how you feel. And how you think, how you act, and how you feel is your personality. And personality creates your personal reality. That's it.
So, apologize about the video. Technology today is not working for me. It's not against me, it's just that's what's happening. So I want us to consider this, that our thoughts, our actions, our feelings have so much effect on our entire experience, even to the extent of informing our genes and the dynamics of what's happening internally, switching on and off the various mechanisms that support our survival, so to speak. And if we don't understand that those dynamics of how we think about things and what we are doing and how we feel are all generating and broadcasting an energetic signature that causes life to mirror back to us how we're being with it. And so if we don't have some mechanism that reminds us, oh, I'm being with what I'm having right now out of my sense of not enough, as opposed to I'm being with what I'm having out of my sense that this is for me, and therefore the proper felt experience if something is for me is thank you, is gratitude. And if I'm not in my experience feeling a sense of valuing what's happening, then I'm living in a reality that is generated out of the disconnect, out of the part of myself that is living separate and apart from its own sense of well-being and worth. I like this quote: the point of thinking differently is that it leads to behaving differently. And if we don't see that the same thoughts, the same feelings, the same behaviors continue to perpetuate the very same circumstances of our life, and then we try to get God to change the way the mirror works. Have you ever tried to get God to change the way the mirror works in your life? Well, God's not going to do that, because God has no problem with how your life looks and feels, because God knows that how your life looks and feels is not the truth of things, but rather knowing that all things are for us. Then we have to recognize that until we behave and be with what's happening in our life out of a different presence than our old conditioned self, then our life is going to basically be a continuation of our past. And so that's very important for us to acknowledge, that some aspect of our spiritual practice has to be about paying attention to what we're making our experience mean. And the dynamic of thought in the context of our body-mind experience has to be managed in the context of changing our thoughts, changing what we do, and changing how we feel within ourselves. And if that doesn't become the focus of our work, then we become fascinated with what's happening out there that's for us or against us, instead of focused on doing the work that shifts how we're creating our own personal reality. See if this works.
So that if you want to create a new personal reality, a new life, then you're going to have to start changing your personality. How many people are with me? Online, yeah? You see, most people try to create a new personal reality as the same personality. Doesn't work. You literally have to become someone else. So there's a principle in neuroscience that says that nerve cells fire together, wire together. And if you keep thinking the same thoughts, making the same choices, demonstrating the same behaviors, creating the same experiences, the same networks of neurons, and the same patterns, all for the familiar feeling you call you, to refer that identity,
Okay, so all for the familiar feeling of confirming ourself. You see all the dynamics that we go through. I mean, think about when you wake up in the morning. What's the first thing you do? You just think about your day, right? It's almost like we're booting up all of our old self to manage our day instead of really being clear that our life will run us unconsciously if we just let it. And indeed, it does. And if we're not aware that how our life is and what gets created is happening primarily unconsciously as if it's a program that's running us, if we're not aware of that, we just allow life to happen as if it's happening to us, and never recognizing that there's the circuitry of our unconscious self. In other words, our self, think of who you are, your self lives in the context of a system that when we're unconscious still operates, still runs us, and we can describe this unconscious self system as our habits of being. Who are you in the habit of being in your life? Who are you in the habit of thinking of yourself in the context of worthy or not? You know, what are you in the habit of doing, and is your doing unconscious? Are you in the habit of spending unconsciously, eating unconsciously, feeling yourself active or out there doing stuff because that's just what you're needing to do in order to feel alive? Are we in the habit of having our life as if it's against us or somebody's the matter with us? Are we in the habit of feeling insufficient or inadequate? Are we in the habit of believing that the world is not a safe or a trustable place? Are we in the habit of creating stories and projecting onto our life all the ways in which we can't succeed or it's not going to matter? We have to begin to take ownership and responsibility for what lives inside of us, that is the unconscious dimension of ourself that has been programmed into us because we have been brought up in the context of the disconnect as being the reality that we live in. But that's not the reality that we live in. There's this wonderful physicist named David Bohm. How many are familiar with David Bohm? And he did a class, and Jane and I have read his book called Thought as a System. And his whole class was about the whole dynamic of thought. And he says this: the general tacit assumption is thought is what is just, excuse me, let me start this over again. The general tacit assumption in thought is that it's just telling you the way things are and it's not doing anything. So in other words, we assume that our thought is just telling stuff about what's happening, and the thought itself is not really doing anything. We're the ones doing it based upon how we're thinking about things. But he's saying this instead: that you are inside there deciding what you're going to do with the information. That's not the truth. The truth is that thoughts run you. We are run by our unconscious thought process, and if we don't intervene, then what gets created seems to happen as if it's out there. We seem as if source is out there instead of in here. And the reality is that we are source unto our own life, and therefore if our circuitry of ourself is embedded in beliefs or habits or ways of being that aren't in alignment with the truth that there's just God, then the consequence of that is a life that looks and feels against us, and our commitment is having to have things be a certain way, instead of being able to be the arbiter of our own well-being based upon who we decide we're going to be with what we're having as our experience. One last movie, we'll see if it works.
Yeah. Every time you have a thought, you make a chemical. And if you have a great thought, or unlimited thought, or a joyful thought, you turn on a set of circuits in your brain, fired in a very specific sequence, pattern, combination, that produces a level of mind, turns on another part of the brain that makes a chemical for you to begin to feel exactly the way you were just thinking. Great, limited, joyful. Now, the negative thought, an unhappy thought, or a self-depreciating thought, you turn on a different set of circuits in a different.
Okay, I can't do this. So Dr. Joe is sharing the principle that that when we think a thought, we also create chemistry within our body. And that chemistry is experienced as a feeling or as an emotion. And then especially when that feeling or emotion is uncomfortable, then we create a story around that discomfort. And so the thought creates the feeling, and the feeling generates the story, and the story re-embeds ourselves in the pseudo-reality of whatever that process is for us. And so in order for us to extricate ourselves from our own habits of being and the circuitry of ourself that's embedded in an unconscious dynamic of life, Dr. Joe uses the expression, bless you, we have to recondition the body to a new mind. In other words, our body is just a servant of the dynamics of what's happening in consciousness, in mind. And so the mind, or the circuitry of ourself, is what is generating the felt sense of discomfort, which is really, bless you, is really all about our disconnect. Every uncomfortable feeling that you can feel is your body trying to say, we've lost our connection. You know, there's no signal from the master Wi-Fi. You know, we're living in the disconnect. And so if we begin to use those moments of sensing a discomfort as a thread that's connected to some part of us that's living in separation or isolation or in regret or in some form of unforgiveness, if we can understand that that's what it's about, then we don't have to push away the outer experience that's a mirror to that. Instead, we just have to recognize that we have to approach that part of ourself with a different awareness, as opposed to thinking that there's something wrong with us. So part of this is that we have to recognize that, I'm going to come back to this in just a second, we have to recognize that the circuitry of ourself, we still have to be with what's happening out of some congruent state. We still have to do something. We're still going to have our life a certain way. We're still going to feel, we're still going to be working with beliefs, and we're still going to have perceptions and meaning making. All of these things are still a part of our self system, but it doesn't have to be tethered to the habits of our past. And indeed, the only way to break the cycle of this system is to focus on something that's not tethered into the past, and that's our future. And so, as this is another quote from Dr. Joe, if you were to take your attention just for a moment, just think about this. If you were to take your attention just for a moment off of your body, off of your life, off of the things you have, off of your identity and the things you own and the people that you know and the places that you go and your concept of time, and the only thing that would be left would be pure consciousness. You wouldn't puff away into invisibility. It's just that whenever we begin to bring our awareness off of our body, have you ever found yourself preoccupied with how your body is? Well, what would happen if you took your attention off of it for a few moments? Your body would still be there, but some part of you would be freed, right? What if you took your attention off of your life, off of your identity, just for a moment? Just imagine what it would be like to feel that you're no longer tethered to any of these things, but those things aren't gone. It's just that now your awareness is not identified or reduced to any external object. Now your awareness can be invested in who and what you want to become. And then who and what you want to become informs your body and your life and your identity and the things and the people and the experiences that you have. It happens from the inside out. But we must be pulled by something that transcends our everyday self. We must break the habit of being ourself to recondition our body to a different mind. Speaking of such things, we're going to have actually a book study starting October 3rd, Thursday evening at 6:30. Ken Close. Ken, are you here today? Ken is going to be teaching the book study on breaking the habit of being yourself. So mark that on your calendar. All right. So last Sunday, Jane talked about romancing your future. And interestingly enough, when we are engaged in looking at what our future could be in the context of fulfilling our purpose and passion, there's some interesting phenomena that takes place. we automatically extricate ourselves from the old circuits, from our habits that are entangled in those circuits of our past self. And so Dr. Joe says this: each time you make a new choice that is in alignment with your future, you are priming your brain to install the neurological hardware to actually think, act, and feel like the person you want to be in your future. So this is neurologically, this is real. We have to be in the practice of really being very clear as to what is the personality, the personal reality that we're wanting to step into, and who do we have to be in order for that expression to be in alignment with our thoughts, our actions, and our feelings, and to begin to build and construct our life in the context of who do we need to be with whatever it is that I'm having that enables me to use whatever I'm having as if it's an abundance unto me. And until we understand that that's our capacity, that's our power, that's our superpower, then we will mortgage our well-being on whether or not life circumstances are look the way they feel in order for us to feel okay about things. Dr. Joe says the quantum field responds not to what we want, but responds to who we are being. So we can't think of our future as something that's missing from us. We have to think of our future as already created, already assembled. It's just that we have yet to open ourselves into the fullness of being in alignment with that future so it could find us. And so we have to focus on who we are being with what we're having as the stepping stones of moving out of our predictable past into the future that calls us into the fulfillment of our purpose and passion. And it begins with being in the question, who do I need to be right now with what I'm having that enables me to use what I'm having as if it's my abundance? I said it twice now. That must mean it's important. All right, here's the work. So identify one area of your life that you would like to transform. What changes in how you think, feel, and behave are necessary to bring about this new dimension of ourselves? So part of what the challenge is, we have to shift out of believing that the world needs to show up a certain way in order for me to be okay. We have to think in terms of, I have to create the world that I want to experience. And it's just like we have to create the ministry that we want to create that is sustainable in the future. We have to create the new future that we want to experience. And so in order to create that future, we have to think differently. We have to feel differently. We have to act differently. And if we don't know what those specific actions are, then we'll just wait for it to happen. And so we have to be clear. What is it that we want to transform? How must I think, feel, and act in order for that to happen? Number 2, what feelings or states of being would your life right, to routinely experience, would you like to I have a speech impeachment. What feelings or states of being would you like to routinely experience if you had a conscious choice in any given moment? So think about that. What if you had a moment where you could decide how to be? Think about it for a moment. Because most of us believe that life happens, we react. We just react. Someone judges us, we react. But what if in every single moment there's a choice? And in that choice, every moment there's the choice that says, who do you want to be with me? But we're not paying attention. That's our choice. That's what life gives to us. That is our power. And if we don't take that power, then we don't receive what is the benefit, the gift behind it. Then finally, feel it, be it, maintain a conscious connection to the person you wish to become. Because it's our felt experience that gives us a connection to what is trying to find us. And so that's principle number 3. Next week we'll have Will Tuttle, and I'm thinking that his workshop on finding your own internal higher self, that internal voice, is going to be so important, because that's half the battle. Just to be able to have a voice inside that you can connect up to And for that voice to be a voice of spirit and a presence, that's the superpower that we have yet to unleash. God bless you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Gary. Thank you. Unity stands for peace in the presence of conflict, for love in the presence of hatred, for forgiveness in the presence of injury. Unity honors the many names for God, the many paths to God, for we know that there is only one power, one presence, and one life. So whoever you are and wherever you are on your journey of transformation, you are welcome here. We would especially like to welcome anyone who is here for the very first time. There it is. If this is your first time visiting with us, feel comfortable raising your hand. Our ushers have a packet for you. Is anyone here? Oh, good. We've got some. Thank you and welcome, welcome. On the outside of the up in front here, Mary. Yes, here you go. And then, yeah. On the outside of the packet, there is a form you can fill out to be added to our mailing list for our weekly e-newsletter updates and our quarterly newsletter. If you are interested, please fill it out and drop it in the love offering bag as it comes around instead of giving a donation today. Also, after the service, you can take the packet to our baristas stand and get a free beverage of your choice. Then you can take it to the bookstore, keeps on giving, and get a CD of today's Sunday talk. If you have any questions or would like a name tag, please visit our information desk or speak to one of our welcome team. We are very, very glad that you are here this morning. Okay, now is the time to welcome each other and greet each other with a handshake, a hug, a high five, a wave, a namaste, a curtsy, whatever it takes. We will.
You can stand at the drink, we're going to sing together in song. Sorry, not together. Only the ripples inside.
Good morning, everyone. Don't make me hit the gong again. I do love it. Good morning. My name is Jim Sledge. I have the privilege of being the treasurer on your board of trustees, and this is the time of our community giving. In answer to Jane's question is why we are here, I think all of us are here because we are on the path of spiritual transformation. And the beauty of being here with that is we know that this is a very safe place in which we can all share and help each other on that path. So let's take the gratitude for that, knowing that we are community in our hearts, and let's share our prosperity blessing together. Together, I know that my giving blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I give and receive. I give thanks for the abundance that is mine to share, and so it is.
All right, so this is about half the crew that I had during Kids Week, and they all got a ukulele to practice on for that week, and we learned some chords and tried to show them how they fit into songs. And so we're going to ask you guys to sing along with us because there's a sing-along up there, and then they're going to play along with me here. Here's a really interesting fact. You probably don't know this, but you all remember back when you were in school, and I've talked to so many people that in elementary school we played those recorders. Those little flutophones. When I was in school, they called them flutophones. Isn't that a pretty cool name, right? Flutaphone. It's like a flutophone, but it's a flutophone. So they're called recorders. In Canada, they came up with this crazy idea in Vancouver, British Columbia, to get those recorders out of kids' hands and save parents' ears. So I thought that was brilliant. And they gave every kid in the public schools 26,000 ukuleles. And they started a ukulele program starting down around 3rd grade. And ukuleles are really cool instruments to learn, even if you're an adult, because they literally, to play a C chord, that's all you have to do. And then they have this nice little C scale. And so you can learn to play all sorts of songs by really only learning, literally what we talk about in the choir, 4 chords. You can actually play 3 and there's your. One word of warning as we strum along, and you guys can see what this is all about, is that we have had wireless issues here today. So I'm hoping this little video doesn't skip too bad. I'm going to tell you it doesn't matter. We're going to run right through it anyway. So just think he's got the whole world and we'll play along with you guys. Guys ready down there? Got C chord ready? All right, we're going to play this song. Here we go.
He's got the whole world in his hands. 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 He's got the baby, baby in his hands. He's got the baby, baby in his hands. He's got the baby, baby in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got you and me in his hands. He's got you and me, brother, in his hands. He's got you and me, brother, in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands.
New song. I'll be darned. It's actually going to skip just like Dr. Gary's. So let's see. We'll just have a fun stop.
Here we go.
Joe Dispenza don't got nothing on us.
All right. You can be up here for the love offering blessing. We give thanks for these gifts and for those that have given them as well, and we send them forth with our blessings in this world. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Amen. You guys can go ahead now. Thanks again to those children. They're so wonderful. Yeah. Took me right back to Girl Scout camp. Long time ago. Okay, our chaplains today, it looks like Amber has been holding space, and Gary will be down today, and I will be here as well, and I'm sure there are others. Anybody wearing a purple badge would love to share in your blessings. If you have prayer requests, if you have anything you want to celebrate, we are here to do that for you. And I do want to remind you that the lists of names can go in a basket in the back, and Marlene is holding that up for you, basket back there. And those again will be read on World Day of Prayer. Okay, and if you have any special requests, please feel free to fill out the in the seat pocket behind you, or in front of you, you have prayer requests that we pray over for a week here, and then we send it back for a whole month at Unity Village. All right, so are we welcoming more children today?
We are singing all the stories of light. 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 We are singing, oh, we are singing all the stories of light. We are singing, oh, we are singing all the stories of light. 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 We are singing, oh, we are singing all the stories of light. We are singing, oh, we are singing all the stories of light. We are singing all the stories, let's keep singing. We are singing all the stories of light. We are singing all the stories, let's go. We are singing all the stories of light. We are singing all the stories of light. We are singing, whoa, we are singing all the stories of light. We are singing, whoa, we are singing all the stories of light. Here we go. Singing all the stories of light.
We do have YOU. They got. All right. They're on their ways, I know. Their souls are with us. Here they come. All right. Well, let's give our blessing to our children and know that children who aren't here but are part of our, here they come, here they come. Yay. They were just so involved in what they were doing today. That's awesome. That's awesome. Did you have any announcements or anything? Okay. All right. Yay. All right, for our children, be the love you are, sing the song you hear, share your joy of life with people far and near. And for ourselves, be the love we are, sing the song we hear, share our joy of life with people far and near. All right, so now you can go back with your, now that you, up here, go away. Go back to the people you came with this morning. Yes. Oh. So sweet, so sweet. All right. Please stand if you are able and join together with our closing prayer, followed by the peace song. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And that's the truth.
Remember, your superpower is determining how you're going to be with what you're having. Use it as your abundance. God bless you all.